Welcome back to the Taiken Ramen channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make Shio Tare. Shio Tare, unlike other tares, is a mix of 3 separate components that have different expiration dates, so we don't mix them up. We've got Dashi for umami, Katsuboshi salt for fishiness, and Sofrito, which is going to bring sweetness and aroma. Let's get started. To start the dashi, we're going to add 1.5 liters of water into a large bowl. After that, we'll add 2 sheets of dried Pacific kombu, 10 dried shiitake mushrooms, and 2 dried ghost peppers. We're going to refrigerate this for 2 hours and up to overnight. Once everyone's nice and hydrated, we're moving to the stove, where we're going to simmer the water and all the components on medium heat until they reach 140 degrees Fahrenheit. At this point, we're going to remove from the heat and strain into a heat-proof bowl. Be sure to press out any liquid from all of your components. We don't want to let any umami go to waste here. And there you go, dashi complete. Let's move on to Katsuboshi salt. We're going to start by weighing out a combination of different salts. You can use whatever salts you like. I like to go 1 tablespoon each Himalayan salt, kosher salt, and sea salt. In a mortar and pestle, start grinding these up. Here you can see my sous chef stop by just to make sure I was doing everything correctly. And once your salts are nice and round and uniform, we can set them aside. We're now going to start grinding up bonito fish flakes into a fine powder. You guys will witness here the moment that I decided that I will be buying a spice grinder in the future, because this took quite a bit of time. I did about 40 grams of salt and 40 grams of bonito flake. We need the weight of these two to be equal, because now we're going to mix them up. And by weight, we'll have equal parts bonito powder and salt blend.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
After you've added these up, seal in a container and shake them in order to fully combine. And boom, Katsuboshi salt complete. Alright, finally the Sofrito. We're going to start by peeling 2 Fuji apples. And if you are able to get all that apple skin off in one go, then you can feed your kid apple skins for breakfast. I don't know, the new James Bond was weird. Once we've got these peeled, we're going to core them and rough chop them about into quarters. Go ahead and trim any remaining skin on the apples. Then we'll take 1 large yellow onion, remove the ends, the peel, and rough chop into about 8 pieces. Make way for the food processor, where all of our onion chunks and apple chunks will go. And then we're going to process until these are a smooth blend. Basically, a forbidden applesauce. Into a high-walled skillet, we're dropping our mixture, and then pressing smooth with a spoon, I'm going to add about half a cup of a neutral flavored oil and put on the stove uncovered over high heat until it starts to bubble and sweat. At this point, I'm going to cover and move into a 225 degrees Fahrenheit oven, and I'll leave it for 3 hours. After 3 hours, I'm going to add some aromatics to this. First up, garlic. I'm going to be crushing 5 cloves of garlic in. Next up, ginger. I've got about 3 inches of ginger diced up here. Stir that in, and then move the whole mix, covered up, back into the 225 degree oven for another 3 hours. And there you go, the Sofrito's complete. When we're putting our final soup together, we'll use 1/2 teaspoon kosher salt, 1 tablespoon rendered fat, 1 tablespoon Katsuboshi salt, 2 tablespoons Sofrito, 200 milliliters of our Dashi. Then we'll whisk everything up. Next we'll add 400 milliliters of Shio broth. And from there, dress up the bowl however you like. The luxury of having these 3 components separate is that you can add more or less of any of these in order to really influence the flavor of the soup. The dashi is an interesting component. Some chefs like Ivan Orkin will add so much dashi that it's equal parts dashi to stock. That's called a double soup. I like to go roughly 1 part dashi to 2 parts broth. And you can find the recipe for the broth in episode 6 of this series. Thanks so much for stopping by and joining me for another ramen video. Hopefully you learned something. It was a pleasure having you. Please consider subscribing for more.